Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we're talking fishing rods. We're talking about the top 5 rods that every bass angler should own. Today I'm talking to both the beginning angler and the advanced angler. I don't care if we're talking about buying your first fishing rod ever and learning a little bit about the sport, or you're a guy who goes out every single weekend. I've got something for both of you. We're going to start out with the top 5 for beginners. For people coming into the sport, maybe you want another rod, you want to expand a little bit on what you've already done. I've got 5 for you. For the guy who's already fishing, but you want to really escalate it, or the guy who's already a great fisherman, but you're looking for higher end gear, I've got 4 rods for you that are going to help you really branch out and do things completely differently. These are true bang for the buck rods. So, starting out with the beginner, 5 rods that every angler should own. The first one is going to be a 7-foot medium spinning rod. This is that true do everything rod. Okay, a medium action rod, still going to be really light in the tip section, but stouter through the mid section. Paired up with a 2500 size reel, this will balance out really nicely and you can do most things. If you're just coming into the sport, you want to buy one fishing rod to just go out and try and catch some bass. 7-foot medium spinning is the way to go. Now, if you're not familiar with our videos, if you open the video description below this video, open up that description, we'll link the exact rod and reel combos for you there. The links will take you straight to Tackle Warehouse where you can see detailed information about each one. But rod number 1, again, 7-foot medium spinning. Rod number 2, so if you've already got this one and you want to expand from there, that's how we're doing this. The next one is going to be a 7-foot medium heavy bait casting rod. Now, bait casting is a little bit more advanced than spinning. It's a step up. It'll take a little bit longer to learn it, but you gain a lot more power. You gain a lot of accuracy, a lot of precision. You can really dial these rods in. And in a 7-foot medium, you're really opening up doors. So that first rod, you can throw a Senko. You can throw a smaller Senko on there. You can throw smaller topwaters on there. You can really do just about anything. You could tie a spinnerbait on there if you want to. You could throw all sorts of different things on that 7-foot medium. It's good for a lot of different things, but it's not necessarily perfect for any of them. And that's why we continue to branch out. So by switching over to a baitcaster, going to a medium heavy, we're really opening up doors. Now you can learn some techniques. Now you can learn to throw a Texas rig. Maybe you could throw a really light jig, something like that. You can do a lot of different things with this rod. You can start branching into some of the medium size or larger size top waters. And again, you don't have to stick to that true 7-foot. I would say anything between 7-foot and 7'3" medium heavy will be a really, really comfortable rod for you. The next up, if we're going to continue going from there, the next one, we're going back to spinning. So we've got a rod that'll kind of do everything. It'll fill a lot of voids for us. That's that spinning rod. Then we've got our bait caster that we can do more of the power things with. We can use a little heavier line. You know, that first rod, we've got that paired up with, 8 to 10 pound fluorocarbon, just general fishing. You can also go braid to leader, of course. That second rod, we're talking probably 40-pound braided line to a leader. Now, if you want to stay with a fluorocarbon, 12 to 15-pound fluorocarbon on that rod, and you're in business. Rod number 3, now we're going the other direction. We're going really light. See, as we get into fishing, We start out with one rod that'll do everything. Then we start seeing people doing other techniques, things that we would like to try. And when you try them on your one rod, it doesn't really work. You either can't get the action out of the bait, or when you hook the fish, you lose them because you can't hit them hard enough. So that's why we go to that stronger rod to open up some doors. Rod number 3 goes the other way. We go light. We go down to a 6/8 to a 6/10 medium light. Okay, this is a much softer rod. What this rod's going to do is it's going to allow us to go the other direction. So we can go to much lighter line. Now we can start talking about using 6 or 7 pound line, either braid to leader or straight fluorocarbon. But by doing that, we're opening up the door for the drop shot, the Ned rig, a lot of those true finesse techniques, throwing a Neko rig, or throwing really, really small topwaters or micro cranks, things like that. You can still do a lot with that rod, but we've really opened up the doors for light line applications. Probably the first one for most people will either be the drop shot or the Ned rig, but that's going to open doors for you to catch a lot more fish. Now from there, to keep expanding, we go back to a baitcaster. Okay, now here we're talking a 6/8 to a 6'10" medium. Now again, I'm throwing these at you pretty quickly. If you're new, if you're waiting for these rods, you're fine with all this. But if you're new, these are coming at you pretty quickly. But I'll link them all in the description so you can take your time and really look at them. But a 6/8 to a 6'10" medium baitcaster with about a 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon on it, or braid to leader, will really open some doors for you. This is going to get you right into that mid-range. Now you can add in a jerk bait. You can add in finesse jigs. You can add in 5-inch Senkos on a Texas rig. You can add in medium-sized to small-sized topwaters. Perfect little popper rod or small walking baits. It's a great rod that will really open up a lot of those techniques. And by doing that, you've covered the vast majority of things. Now, there are still some true power techniques you can't do, but you've got all the middle to light stuff covered. Just across the board, you can do all of it with that gear right there. Adding one more rod will open up everything except the most powerful of techniques. So this is a 7.2 heavy. Now when you get here, you're talking about really opening up some doors. At 7.2 heavy, and this could be a 7.2 to a 7.4 heavy, okay? This is going to allow me to throw smaller frogs, full-size jigs, Texas rigs, light flipping around heavy cover, big topwater baits, buzz baits, spinner baits around heavy cover for big fish. It truly opens up the doors. Now I can throw big Texas rigged worms, big Texas rigged creature baits. These 5 rods will let me do virtually everything. I am in business at that point. Now, you can do this really on a budget. Most of these combos, you're talking, a couple of them have nicer upgraded reels on them, like this. The 70 MGL, the SLX 70 MGL, is a little bit more expensive reel, but I gain a lot. I gain a ton of distance with this reel. And by the time I get to a 7.2 heavy, I'm starting to appreciate a little bit nicer quality gear. I appreciate being able to make that longer cast, cover more water, stick those fish from a distance. So I've got it spooled up with 40-pound braid or 50-pound braid to be able to really branch out across those techniques. But with these rods, you can do everything except maybe swim baiting and punching and big deep diving crankbaits. Other than that, you've got it covered. So those rods in that order is how I would get into the sport. Now, let me shift gears. For the guy who watches most of the videos, for the guy who loves bass fishing, maybe you've already got a good set of rods, but you want to expand. If you're willing to step up to a little bit nicer quality gear, obviously that costs a little bit more money, but if you do that, we can actually do it in 4 rods. So check this out. These are specific rods. This isn't, hey, get a 7-foot medium. This is, get this rod. So rod number 1, X-Pride 610 medium light. Now this one I have spooled up with fluoro. But if you want this rod to be universal, put braid on that reel. 610 medium light with braid will let you do most of those finesse techniques, right? I can Ned rig, drop shot, tube, smaller Senkos, all that stuff. It's all happening on this one rod. Now, could I buy 3 or 4 rods to do it? Sure I could, but I don't need to. I can take this one rod and do all of those different applications, okay? One spinning rod. Now from there, I go here, rod number 2. This is G Loomis GLX. This is the 843 MBR. I talk a lot about MBR rods. You guys have heard me talk about it. One of the cool things about MBRs is they're in the entire line. So from an NRX Plus all the way down to a GCX and everywhere in between, you can get those MBRs. So you can match them to your budget. But none of them will be as inexpensive as like an SLX or a Bass X or one of these rods over here. You know that going in. But an 843 MBR is an incredible rod. It will let you do literally everything in the middle. You could throw a chatterbait on it if you needed to. You could throw a spinnerbait on it if you need to. You can Texas rig on it. You can throw football jigs on it. You can do so many things with that rod. I threw a topwater on them a ton this year. You guys might remember my NRX Plus. I tied a topwater on that rod in a pinch back in probably June. It's still on there. Now I fish braid, right? So I can leave a bait tied on. I have used that rod all season and almost never lost a topwater fish. Is that rod made for a topwater? No. But these MBR actions are so unique that the same rod can throw a topwater or a crankbait or a jig or a spinnerbait. It can literally do it all. And that's why I preach about these MBRs so much. If we're talking about rods that are just incredible bang for the buck, 610 medium light, all your finesse techniques. That 3-power MBR, all of your middle techniques. So check this out. If you guys watch our shorts, you probably saw that one about a month ago where I catch an 8-pounder on a square bill. On that day, I wasn't planning to throw a square bill. I didn't even have a crankbait rod in the boat. That was on an 843 MBR. 8-pound bass on a square bill, treble hooks on this rod. And you saw she came to the boat. She got whipped quick because people even commented, something about this video is fishy. He's not freaking out. It's because I was using an MBR. The tip section loads up beautifully. If you pull too hard, you get into the backbone where I need to be for a jig or a spinnerbait or a chatterbait. But if you just stay gentle with that fish, she's battling that tip section. She might as well be on a crankbait rod. So I was able to get that fish in no problem. These are truly some of the most universal action rods that exist. And again, you can get it at every price point. So 2 rods already covering most things. Number 3, 610 medium. You guys already knew I was gonna say it, right? You had to know that. Now this is the X-Pride. Almost impossible to get. They're sold out again, and I have no clue when they're coming back. However, same deal, you can get this through the different lines too. So you can get this in the Corrado rod, which is a phenomenal option. Same exact action, it will save some money. And then instead of pairing it with an Aldebaran, this is an X-Pride with an Aldebaran. That's my favorite combo. You can do the Corrado paired to the Corrado 70, and you're in business. And you're saving quite a bit of money over this combo for the exact same action. Now actually for the true budget guy too, you can go all the way down to a 610 medium SLX, pair that up with an SLX reel, and for basically $100 for the rod and $100 for the reel, again, you're getting that same action. It's amazing how you can carry these actions through the lines. But a 610 medium is going to cover you for all that, let's call it the other stuff. Small topwater, finesse jigs, like little football jigs, little micro jigs. There's so much I do with this thing. I actually throw some pretty good sized topwater, and sometimes I throw blade baits on here. I throw tail spinners on here. In a pinch, I throw my lipless cranks on it if I have to. If I'm not prepared with a proper rod, I'll throw a lipless on here. All sorts of different things with this rod. So now I've got 3 rods doing 75% of the things I do. Rod number 4, this is a St. Croix. Okay, we're in the Legend line now. 7'4" heavy. In the Legend, it's a pretty amazing rod. This is the Legend Elite, but all the Legends have that 7'4" heavy in them. I did so much with this rod this year. From Florida, pulling fish out of super heavy cover, to throwing big top waters, to throwing jigs. It's a very unique action rod. So 7'4" heavy, but it's, regardless of how they rate it, it's a fairly moderate rod compared to other brands. So it's actually a really good jig rod as well. So I'm able to throw the jig on here. I'm able to do a lot of power techniques. I can throw beast hooks on here. I can throw the flashy swimmer on here. I can throw my underspins on here, like big underspin Kitex. All those heavier techniques, a big Texas rig, a bigger jig, all those things on that rod. And now I have truly covered 95% of my fishing, and I've done it in 4 rods instead of 5. That's what happens when you step up in price and you get in. Now these are supposed to be technique specific rods, right? When you spend more, you can get really nichey, and we do that a lot, but I didn't do that for you today. What I chose is the 4 absolute best bang for the buck actions, right? Where you spend the money once and you've got a rod that's great for this, 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 and this. Then you buy another one, it's good for this, 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 and this. They're rods that will do a ton. By doing it in 4 rods, we just opened the door for you to choose rod number 5. You can now, by now, you're a pretty good angler. You know what you like to do. So what style of angler are you? Your 5th rod might be just a perfect lipless crankbait rod. It might be a perfect deep diving crankbait rod. It might be time to get your speed cranking rod. You might want a true dedicated big swim bait rod. Maybe you're a northern guy, you smallmouth fish a lot, and it's time to get that true dedicated hair jig rod, right? By doing this with 4 rods, number 5 can be something that really fits your style. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up right then and there. Not a complicated video, but a ton of information that has come from countless hours on the water. You don't even want to know how many rods I've bought and fished with to be able to find those rods that are that unique, that can do those different things. But it pays off, right? I get to share that with you, and hopefully you can take that and apply it, and you can get some of these rods that will truly meet those different things for you, and you don't need so many rods. Beginner angler, take them in order. Advanced angler, take them in order, and go from there. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Now, I do want to add, our holiday buyer's guide series is coming soon. Just a heads up. We're getting close enough now. I want to say something about it. So we're probably, I don't know, a couple weeks out or so from the start of that stuff. If you guys have been with us less than a year, you don't know about our holiday buyer's guides, where we do really advanced videos on all sorts of different subjects, sort of like this, to help you pick the best of the best rods at different price points, baits in different categories, maybe a dedicated one to swim baits, a dedicated one to crankbaits, a dedicated one to $200 rods, another one for ultra high-end rods. But those are coming in just a few weeks, so you guys hang in there for that as well. We're pretty excited to be building towards that holiday buyer's guide. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.